I supported my wife's dream job and even helped her move abroad. But then she completely disappeared from my life. She blocked my number, stopped all contact, and I eventually found out through social media that she was pregnant with her boss's child, all while still being married to me. We'd been together for 2 years and married for 1. Everything seemed to be going perfectly. My wife, Melanie, was ambitious and driven, always striving to make something of herself. I admired that about her and made it my mission to support her dreams in every possible way. That's what a loving husband does, right? When Melanie got an unexpected offer from a prestigious firm in Europe, I was hit with mixed emotions. I was proud of her and happy that her dream was becoming a reality. But the thought of being apart for so long scared me. She said she was scheduling it for you since you're busy with work. Danielle, my girlfriend of 18 months, who I've lived with for 6. I need to cancel that right away. Of course, Mr. Patterson, canceled. Would you like to reschedule? No, absolutely not. I hung up and just stared at my screen. She had scheduled me for a vasectomy consultation. Without asking. That evening, Danielle came home while I was making pasta. I stayed calm. I wanted to see how she'd react. "Hey, babe," she said, kissing my cheek and pouring a glass of wine. "How was your day?" "Interesting," I said. "Got a strange email." "Oh yeah?" she replied, distracted. "A vasectomy consultation for next Tuesday. Any idea how that happened?" She froze briefly, then smiled. "Oh, good, they confirmed it. I wasn't sure how long they'd take." "Confirmed it? Danielle, I didn't schedule anything." "You scheduled a vasectomy consultation for me without asking?" "Well, yeah. We talked about not wanting kids. We talked about not right now. We're 27 and 29. That's not the same as never." She waved it off. "You're overthinking it. It's reversible anyway." "Not always. And that's not the point. You made a medical decision about my body without asking." Her tone changed, defensive now. "Don't be dramatic. I'm being proactive about our future. We agreed kids aren't in the plan." "No, we said not yet. And even if we had agreed, you still don't get to schedule surgery for me." "It's just a consultation," she snapped. "Besides, my body, my choice means I shouldn't have to handle birth control forever. It's your turn." "So your body, your choice, means my body, your choice too?" She hesitated. "I've been on birth control since I was 16. 11 years of hormones messing with my system. I'm done with that. Condoms suck. So yes, I think it's fair to ask you to take response." I even considered flying out to find her, but I no longer knew where she lived. The landlord of the apartment I'd arranged said she had moved out weeks earlier. Her company claimed she no longer worked there. Everything she'd told me was unraveling. I thought about filing a police report, but her mother stopped me, insisting Melanie was fine and just needed space. So I waited, confused, hurt, but still hoping she'd reach out. Then, about a month later, I saw her social media reappear. There she was, glowing in a photo at some formal event, her hand gently resting on a baby bump. The caption read, "Starting a new chapter with the love of my life." Next to her stood a man I recognized vaguely, her boss. The sight hit me like a freight train. My wife, still legally married to me, was pregnant with another man's child. The betrayal was so complete, it felt like my entire world had collapsed. I sank onto the couch, staring at the screen through tears. She hadn't just left me. She'd erased me entirely from her story. I wanted answers, but didn't want to chase someone who clearly didn't care. What could I even say? My life was in ruins, while she was happily starting over. My family and friends tried to support me. My best friend Mark was furious. He told me she didn't deserve my pain and that I needed to move forward. Easier said than done, when every inch of the house reminded me of her. Why did she do it? Why couldn't she have just told me it was over? I had been nothing but supportive. After discovering Melanie's betrayal online, I spent days in shock, cycling between anger, sadness, and disbelief. My parents urged me to focus on what I could control, but it felt impossible. I couldn't just sit back and let her get away with destroying our marriage. Eventually, I contacted a family lawyer and explained everything. She told me I had strong grounds for a complaint. Melanie had abandoned our marriage and started a new life without any legal separation or divorce. I decided to file the case. It felt like a small but necessary step toward regaining control of my life. I didn't know where it would lead, but at least I was doing something. The thought that Melanie could simply walk out of my life, destroy everything we'd built together, and move on without facing any consequences made my blood boil. As I navigated the legal process, I found myself reflecting on how completely I had been blindsided. I replayed the last few months of our relationship over and over, searching for red flags I might have ignored. Every sacrifice I had made, every time I supported her dreams and celebrated her achievements, now felt meaningless. I had been her biggest supporter, and in return, she had given me nothing but betrayal. The legal proceedings moved slowly, but even filing the complaint brought me a small sense of control. It reminded me that I didn't have to sit back and watch while she erased me from her life. I gave my lawyer everything I had: our marriage certificate, financial documents, and all records of communication before she vanished. My lawyer assured me that her actions would not go unchallenged, especially if she made any further decisions that violated the terms of our marriage. At that point, I wasn't sure what else she could possibly do. She had already done enough damage. I threw myself into work to distract from the chaos. My colleagues noticed something was wrong, but they gave me space while quietly offering support. One day, a coworker left a cup of coffee on my desk with a small note that said, "You've got this." It wasn't much, but in that moment, it felt like a lifeline. With time, the anger I felt toward Melanie began to outweigh the sadness. I started to see her clearly, not as the woman I thought I knew, but as someone selfish and manipulative, driven only by her own ambitions. She had never cared about anyone but herself. Just when I had begun to move on, Melanie resurfaced in the most unexpected way. It had been 6 months since I last heard from her. One evening, as I was sorting through bills, my phone rang. The number was from Europe. When I answered, I heard Melanie's voice, shaky, with muffled sobs in the background. She said she needed to talk, that she was in trouble and didn't know who else to turn to. She confessed that her new life in Europe had fallen apart. The man she left me for, the one I thought was her boss, had turned out to be a fraud. Through tears, she explained that he'd been running some kind of scam and had emptied her savings before disappearing. She was now pregnant, broke, and stranded in a foreign country with no one to help her. As she spoke, a flood of emotions ran through me. It felt like karma had finally caught up to her, but I couldn't ignore her audacity. After everything she'd done, she was now calling me for help, expecting sympathy and support. She asked if I could send her some money so she could get back on her feet, admitting that she had made terrible mistakes and had no one else to turn to. I stayed silent for a long moment, before asking why she thought I owed her anything. I reminded her that she had blocked me, erased every trace of our marriage, and rebuilt her life with another man as if I never existed. Now she wanted me to save her? She broke down, crying harder, saying her family had turned their backs on her and she was terrified for her baby. I almost told her to ask her mother, but she said she already had and was refused. She begged me to understand that she just needed a chance to make things right. I told her plainly that I was not her safety net. She had made her choices, and now she had to live with them. I wasn't the same man she could manipulate or rely on whenever things fell apart. She had burned that bridge the day she walked away without a word. She tried to argue, saying we had history and once loved each other, that it had to mean something. But I cut her off. Love isn't a one-way street, I said. She destroyed what we had when she ghosted me and married someone else. I told her that if she had ended things honestly, with respect and a proper divorce, I would have still thought of her kindly. But she didn't. I ended the call by informing her that my lawyer would reach out to her regarding the divorce proceedings. She had been avoiding even that, but the process would move forward whether she showed up or not. When the call ended, she was sobbing, and I hung up feeling a strange mix of anger, relief, and a trace of pity. The next morning, I called my lawyer and told her everything. She advised me to document the call and record any future contact in case Melanie tried to cause problems later. Luckily, I had already recorded part of the call. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I was taking control again. Not long after that, I received a call from someone named Liza. Her tone was firm and self-righteous, as if she was on a mission to correct some perceived injustice. Without much introduction, she dove straight into her plea. Melanie was in terrible shape, she said. Living in a shelter, pregnant, and emotionally devastated. Liza claimed that Melanie often spoke about how kind and supportive I'd been during our marriage, and couldn't understand why I was refusing to help her now. Then her tone shifted, sharp and accusing, as she suggested that I was being heartless for abandoning Melanie in her time of need. I let her finish before responding calmly but firmly. I asked if she'd been the one encouraging Melanie to leave me in the first place. Liza hesitated, clearly caught off guard. She denied it, saying she only supported Melanie's choices because she thought she was doing what was best for herself. I interrupted her. Supporting someone, I said, doesn't mean cheering them on when they're making destructive decisions. I asked if she was also the one who helped Melanie craft that glowing social media post, the one showing off her new life, her new husband, and the baby on the way. Did she help her write captions designed to rub salt in my wounds? Liza tried to defend herself, saying everyone makes mistakes and that Melanie had just gotten swept up in the excitement of her new relationship. Her tone became defensive, trying to distance herself from responsibility. That's when I told her that if she cared so much about Melanie, she should take her in herself, provide her shelter, food, and support. Liza stuttered, saying she couldn't afford to help and didn't have the resources. I'd had enough. I told her it was easy to preach about compassion when you weren't the one expected to clean up someone else's mess. Her sudden concern meant nothing if she wasn't willing to back it up with action. Liza tried to interrupt again, insisting that I didn't understand the full situation. I stopped her. I told her that I understood perfectly well. Melanie had made her bed and now wanted me to lie in it for her. And Liza, who had probably encouraged her selfish behavior, was now trying to guilt me into taking responsibility for it. I ended the conversation by warning her that if she or anyone else continued contacting me about this, I'd involve my lawyer. And I meant it. I had already discussed the situation with my attorney, and we were prepared to file harassment charges if the calls and messages didn't stop. Liza's tone changed instantly. She tried to backtrack, saying she wasn't trying to bother me, just looking out for Melanie. She claimed she didn't mean to upset me and only wanted to start a conversation. I didn't buy it. I told her that any chance of dialogue ended when Melanie ghosted me, married someone else, and flaunted her new life without an ounce of decency. I made it clear that I owed nothing to Melanie or anyone connected to her. Liza's voice shook as she made one last attempt. She said the baby didn't deserve to suffer for Melanie's mistakes and that I could make a real difference by stepping up. That struck a nerve, but not in the way she hoped. I told her that while I felt sorry for the child, it wasn't mine. If Melanie's new husband didn't care for her or the baby, why should I? I asked if I had "fool" written on my forehead. I reminded her it was Melanie's job, not mine, to decide the kind of life she wanted for her child. Liza went quiet for a moment before mumbling that she hoped I'd reconsider. Her voice trembled, as though she finally realized she had no moral ground left to stand on. I ended the call with a final warning. If she contacted me again, I'd take legal action. I told her my life no longer revolved around cleaning up the chaos created by people who had shown me zero respect. I wasn't going to be dragged down by Melanie's poor choices. After hanging up, I felt both frustrated and relieved. It was exhausting defending myself to people who refused to see the full picture. Liza's nerve was almost laughable. She called me cold and unfeeling, yet wasn't willing to lift a finger to help Melanie herself. It was clear that just like Melanie, she preferred to shift blame and expect others to carry their burdens. But I wasn't going to be their scapegoat. For too long, I'd been the supportive one, the partner who always put others first. Melanie's betrayal forced me to reevaluate what I would tolerate. I realized I had spent years trying to fix things that were beyond repair. It was time to let go. When Melanie's mother called, I knew exactly what to expect. Another attempt at guilt tripping. She didn't waste a second before jumping to Melanie's defense, her tone heavy with condescension. She accused me of being heartless and vindictive for not helping Melanie in her time of need. She said a real man would step up regardless of the past. I let her speak for a while before cutting in. I told her she had some nerve lecturing me about stepping up when she, Melanie's own mother, wasn't helping her either. I asked bluntly why she wasn't the one stepping in. Isn't it a mother's duty to support her child? Her response was full of excuses. She said she didn't have the financial means and had already done her best. Her voice faltered as she tried to justify her inaction, claiming she couldn't take on Hello, just like Liza's. I even asked whether she'd actually raised Melanie, because her lack of loyalty and integrity said otherwise. Even people with nothing often show more loyalty to each other than Melanie ever showed to me, or her mother to her. Her offended sputtering only fueled my frustration. I questioned how she'd raised Melanie to become someone who thought betrayal and abandonment were acceptable. I told her it was no surprise Melanie had made such a mess of her life when that was the example she had. Her tone shifted to defensive. She said Melanie had always been stubborn, as if that excused everything. I pressed further, asking if she too had gone through multiple marriages like Melanie, and whether that's where Melanie learned to treat relationships as disposable. The line went silent for a moment before she snapped back, saying I had no right to judge her or her family. I laughed bitterly and told her I wasn't judging, just stating facts. I reminded her that Melanie had ghosted me, married another man while still being married to me, and flaunted her new life online. I said I didn't want to hear another excuse for her behavior. Her voice softened as she tried to appeal to my compassion. She said Melanie was pregnant, scared, and alone in a foreign country, that she didn't deserve to be punished for mistakes she now regretted. I stopped her. I told her Melanie's regrets were hers to face. If she truly felt remorse, she could prove it by showing up in court and taking responsibility. I warned her not to blame me for Melanie's situation. I reminded her I'd been nothing but supportive during our marriage and didn't deserve the betrayal I endured. I said that if she or her family thought guilt would change my mind, they were wrong. If she was so eager to help Melanie, she should do it herself. Bring her home, give her a place to stay, help her rebuild. She mumbled something about not having the means, but I cut her off. I told her her excuses sounded exactly like Melanie's. She tried one final time to guilt me, saying the baby didn't deserve to suffer for her mother's mistakes. I told her that was something Melanie should have considered before making her choices. I wasn't going to raise a child that wasn't mine. Some people might accept that, but I wouldn't. Then I ended the call with finality. I told her plainly that I don't take back what's been thrown away, no matter how pitiful it looks. I warned her not to contact me again and to tell Melanie that if she was good at finding new husbands, she could find another to clean up her mess. And if she had anything to say to me, she could do it in court. It's baffling how shameless some people can be. I wondered how I'd missed these red flags before. Maybe it's true what they say. Love blinds you to reality. Melanie eventually came back. The news spread fast through gossip circles, though I wanted no part of it. From what I heard, her mother finally stepped up, not out of love, but to save her reputation. After realizing I wouldn't change my mind, she paid for Melanie's return. Ironically, the same woman who tried to shame me had to bear the cost herself. I felt no sympathy. Melanie had burned every bridge behind her, and now she was left standing in the ashes. By the time she returned, our divorce was finalized. She didn't contest it. She couldn't. The evidence was too strong. The court ruled almost entirely in my favor. Melanie now owed me a significant amount as part of the settlement, money she couldn't pay anytime soon. But that wasn't all. The legal trouble from her actions in Europe had caught up with her. The fraud complaint I filed led to a full investigation, and authorities uncovered the mess she and her lover had made. Our recorded conversation made things worse for her. It exposed her lack of remorse, her arrogance, and her attempts to manipulate others. The judge didn't hold back. He criticized her for showing zero accountability or empathy for those she'd hurt. Her lawyer tried to use her pregnancy to earn sympathy, arguing that jail time would be too harsh. The judge disagreed, calling her actions deliberate and selfish. She was sentenced to 1 year in prison. Her pregnancy didn't lessen her guilt. It only made her behavior worse. She gave birth shortly before starting her sentence. The baby, a girl, was left with Melanie's mother. I genuinely felt sorry for that child, brought into such chaos. I hoped someone in that family would give her a better start than Melanie ever had. As for me, that was the end. I was done. The court, the stress, the emotional burden, it was all behind me. Looking back now, I see how much I learned about people, trust, and resilience. Melanie's betrayal nearly broke me, but it also helped me discover my own strength. Some might think I take satisfaction in how things turned out for Melanie, but the truth is I don't. This was never about revenge. It was about closure. Her choices led her down a destructive path, while I chose to walk away and rebuild. I've started focusing on what really matters: friends, opportunities, and personal growth. I'm in therapy now, still processing it all. I don't fully understand why she left the way she did. Wanting a better life is one thing, but she could have handled it with decency. As for her, I hope she eventually finds peace, not for me, but for her daughter, who didn't ask to be part of this. If there's one lesson to take from all this, it's this: never let betrayal define you. Learn from it, grow from it, and move forward. Because at the end of the day, you're worth more than the lies and deceit of others.